Hey
Okay.
everybody, welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that endorses Burger King zesty sauce. It's me, Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and I'm with a very special guest today.
Me.
Who is me?
I. Oh yeah. Just kind of hanging around.
Your name? No, I mean your stuff. Who are you?
I, s- I ask myself that on a daily
Okay,
basis at
I'm
this
with
point.
Ryan, aka Polkabird, who's getting really cerebral with the first question of the podcast. Really, just starting us off for failure. We are the number one podcast in this space that's called the Have You Ever Played podcast. It's actually pretty cool. But that really just like derailed my entire mind process. The fact that you wouldn't answer the
I'm-
first question
I,
of the podcast.
I will. I will not comply. You can set your rules, and I will not follow them.
All right. Well, we used to have a format, but now this is basically the new format. It's just Ryan, you haven't been on the podcast in a while. What have you been up to? What is your? We usually ask what your week is like, but what have you been up to?
You're asking what my time skip results have been like after the time skip arc. It's
Yeah,
like
you're a
6 months
post-time
later.
skip. Yeah, it's
Uh,
probably longer than that.
probably. Um, I I've been living the like I'm on the middle age speed run, because like now that I have like land to take care of because I got to dig out like poison ivy and like mow the lawn and just do like general like middle aged things. Uh, that's all I've been doing. I've had multiple bouts of awful awful poison ivy. It's all I can think about. It got in my brain.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's yeah.
So
It,
I know before the podcast, you told me not to ask about poison ivy and how you tend it, but since you brought it up, what is the most effective way to get rid of poison ivy you found?
there is none, and it's funny that you mentioned this because I thought for a while I had poison oak rash, not poison ivy rash, on my one arm because it was like wrist to forearm on my right side, and I was looking it up on my work mandates that I use Bing and Microsoft
Mhm.
Edge specifically. So I was on Bing search at work and I was looking up poison ivy versus poison oak, literally verbatim, that exact that search phrase. And what Bing did was it said, "Here's the number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline." And I was like,
Oh
"Okay,
my
all right." I
goodness.
was like, "All right, it's not that bad, but all right." And the immediate result underneath of it, and the reason it said that was there is no cure to poison ivy. There is no way to get rid of it. It just goes away on its own. And I think Bing determined that as well. If you get poison ivy, you're done. There's no other answer. Like I,
Well,
you
I
just gotta.
wonder you can put aloe vera on it, right? To like
It doesn't help.
soothe the
It
doesn't
doesn't help.
help. It's
It
a
helps like
big
with the itching and stuff sometimes,
Mhm.
but it doesn't help the actual rash.
So is that a myth perpetrated by Big Aloe?
No, because it helps with sunburn,
Okay.
and it does have it has like cooling properties and like makes it feel a little bit better, but it doesn't actually heal.
Have you ever been sprayed by a skunk?
No, but I there was one on my road growing up that like would consistently like just decide to try to get hit by cars and then like spray.
It was one specific skunk that would try
It
to get
was
hit by cars.
there was a span of time for like 2 or 3 years growing up when it was like it smells like skunk outside, and it's like, yep, it's just like a skunk that just lives on my road and like sits in the middle of the road. Like I've seen it in the road, and then it runs away and then it gets scared and sprays, and you smell it for like a mile radius.
That's something was going on with that skunk.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
some
know.
weird behavior. That's the fact that the skunk intentionally is sitting in the road to then get scared. It's like a thrill, chasing a thrill,
Yeah.
and then
It's
spraying everywhere. It's so strange.
it was awful. I luckily I never got sprayed. I don't think any of our dogs ever got sprayed growing up. I don't think the horses ever got sprayed either.
Hmm.
I think they were the most likely targets if that were to happen. But
Yeah. I only asked because you got me thinking about just like things from my childhood, like ailments and like hazards from childhood that I have not thought about, like poison
things
ivy.
things that you knew how to cure as a child if you had that had ever happened to you, such as what is it like tomato or tomato juice, right?
Tomato juice.
I've heard that does work.
Yeah. Stop, drop, and roll for fire.
Well, yeah, that's
I
yeah,
mean that's just yeah, you know, but
that's a
quicksand is
that's yeah, quicksand. Uh,
quicksand. Yeah.
I actually did have an experience with quicksand. I don't know if
Okay.
it was formal quicksand, like quicksand in the way that like I
So
don't know what is
great
I don't know what
value quicksand. So you had
this
like
was. This was
off-brand
Walmart
quicksand.
quicksand.
Okay. Yeah.
There was this. It was a particularly dry summer, and there is a reservoir out by us, and there's this old trail that leads out, and it's this. It when it's full, it's beautiful. It's this big, beautiful reservoir with like cedar trees, and there's no like shrubs. It's all just like trees and like undergrowth. So it's like really easy to walk across the entire bank, and it's literally like a fantasy movie, and like a deer comes and sips out of the lake, and it's like wow, everything's beautiful. But I used to hike out there every so often in high school, and there was a particularly dry summer in which the reservoir was fully drained on one side because there was no like the water just dried up. Uh, so my friend and I were walking, and I, being the opportunist that I am, decided let's go out into the middle of the dried up reservoir. How often do you get the chance to literally walk across the bottom of a lake and look for things that people have dropped or thrown in? Like there could be some good stuff in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
There could
went
be some good bodies and
I
a
went
bike.
dumpster diving in this dried reservoir, and I took a couple steps, and then I started feeling the ground wasn't so solid beneath me, and I like took one step, and it was as if there were like the sand all just suddenly disappeared from under my foot, and my leg went clean through, and it went all the way up to like almost up to my waist is where I like fell through, and my other leg got like sucked down into like another hole, and I was actively like the more I moved the more I was kind of like sinking. I was wearing a backpack. My friend literally had to like pull me up from that. Uh, I almost lost my shoes. That would have really sucked. Just like, yeah, they're like 3 feet at the bottom of this lake now. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I would have sunk any further. Anytime I tried to move, I was like, I tried to get myself out, and I got a little further. I was up to like my stomach when I like was finally started to get pulled out, but I don't know how deep the sand layer went. If it had gone all the way down, I could have just completely been at the bottom.
That would have been pretty embarrassing to die via like Wile E.
Pennsylvania
Coyote
quicksand.
esque quicksand. Yeah. So quicksand, right? What about did like an anvil ever fall on your head or like a piano
Oh,
for carry? Why do you have a story about this?
when I was all right, childhood danger
Oh
stories.
my god.
When I was maybe 4 or 5, my parents were friends with this butcher. Uh, this family was it was the husband and wife were butchers, and they had some kids, and I guess they knew my family from a long time ago or something. And my parents took me to their house, and it was like an hour drive. It was out like even more in the middle of nowhere than I am, and we were out there, and just like they had this precariously designed like wood stove setup, I guess. Uh, it was a concrete building, and it was weirdly like off kilter to the point that like I guess it was built on a hill, and there was one section they wanted to build an expansion, so they built it down the hill, and they had a concrete ramp on the inside of their house on like the foundation that went from like it was like a 45-degree angle that like smoothed out from where they like hung the meat down to where this wood stove was. They had like ventilation fans, and it was like to keep it warm in the winter, I guess. And I was like riding around on this little like I guess like some kind of like a Tonka truck or something. Because I'm like you're like 4 or 5 years old. You can fit in the bed of one of those dump trucks and like scoot around. And I was like, oh, we just go down this ramp
Oh my
directly
god.
into the wood stove.
Oh
Uh,
my god.
there was it wasn't necessarily an anvil, but it was like a big old cast iron wood stove, and I went right down into that. It was a short ramp, but I like hit my head right in the
That's pretty
front.
ridiculous,
Yep.
Ryan. Come on.
It's an anvil adjacent story.
You were
Um
just like Hansel and Greteling it. Just like, I'm gonna slide into a wood stove,
Oh
it
mein
would
Gott.
burn, and get turned into a pie. I can Why do you have? Okay,
I
I
fell
feel like
into
you
a
have the most.
cauldron. Like
Yeah, you have like so many parallels to folk. Like pretty much everything German people of olden times tried to warn children about, you've fallen prey to.
um
You've fallen prey. Did you ever find like a glass slipper and have to like saw your toes off to try to make it fit to marry
no,
into royalty?
but I did one time go outside in the woods outside
Oh
my
my
house
god.
at night because I was just walking around. I don't know. I was like 8 or 9, and I just liked being outside and just looking around. I was like, oh, I want to see what the backwoods trails are like at night because
Yeah,
they're
a feral
literally
child. Yes.
right outside my house. So I'm just like, I
Okay.
know these trails really well, and I'm walking around with a flashlight and stuff, and just like there's like a couple of foxes in like the distance, and I see them, and the one kind of gets up and like looks at me, and I'm just like, am I about to be carried away by a pack of foxes? Like like
Oh my god.
again, a Hansel and Gretel type situation, like a
I
German folklore story.
I can relate somewhat to that story at least because I one time, this was later in life, probably like I was old enough to know better, but I was biking around a like old rail trail, like where a rail yard used to be. It's basically a forest now.
Yeah,
um I was biking, and it was right at the entrance of this forest. So I biked in, it's pretty clear. And I saw this like dog, and I'm like, "Oh my god, someone's dog's out here." Like there's like hopefully this dog's okay. There's like a stray dog. So I'm on my bike, and I like see this dog, and it just looks at me and stops, and I'm just looking at it, and I just kind of back up and like bike away. And then later, like that day, or maybe even like a week later, I realized like, oh wait, that was probably a coyote, because there's not just random dogs in the wood. Like oh no, that was definitely a coyote, because we're in a coyote prone area too.
yeah,
But a good thing, coyotes are like more, I guess, scared of people for the most part.
yeah. They're kind of small. Like they can't really
And it
do
was only
much to
one of
you.
them, yeah. But still, it was like eyeing me down. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, that was not a good position to be in.
Hmm.
If that dog, I mean, if he had like rabies or something, he would have been, just like mauling me.
Yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
yeah. You
that's why we stay inside now and don't do anything.
just don't go outside. There's no danger inside
Oh yeah,
aside from radon,
Oh yeah, the hidden danger.
the hidden danger.
Yeah. What's your highest radon level? Like, let's compare radon levels.
Well, I don't know because the test that I submitted for the basement that I'm in currently is it came back inconclusive because it was too old.
Oh,
So, uh they they said I should take another test though because they there was something in there. So,
yeah, just don't eat like a tuna fish sandwich in your basement, because you'll get the mercury and the radon. Like you're gonna be not in a good spot. Do you have any old timey thermometers around too that are just full of like mercury? And
uh I have a 1930s doorbell that's like has lead bits in it, but no, I don't have any other. Oh, no. My attic has asbestos in it.
oh, that's good. Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good one
And
to
lead
avoid.
paint in
Yeah.
my house. I forgot about that too. There's
Oh,
lead
you're
paint.
screwed.
Yeah, I got radon, lead, and asbestos, and
Yeah.
microplastics. That's all of us now.
Well,
But
that's in everything. Yeah, like
yeah,
I love seafood. You know what sucks? Like I like eating like seafood and like lobster and stuff. Not like all the time, because lobster is way too overpriced, but you can get good deals sometimes. But at the same time, lobsters just eat trash all day,
yeah.
and like I think I've had an experience where I've like opened up a lobster and there's just been like garbage in it. Basically, I don't know
Hmm.
if how lobster anatomy works. That probably isn't even true, but just like it feels weird to eat things that eat plastic, but everything in the ocean eats plastic, so it's just odd.
I mean,
Um,
lobsters don't necessarily like eat plastic by choice. It's like
no, they just eat trash, right? Like just
they
anything.
eat dead things.
Yeah,
They're
that are
like
full of plastic.
yeah, if they eat like something that died in it that like was in plastic, like that's how they get it
I
in the
don't.
stuff.
I'm
It's
not
not like they're
saying
eating
they're like, oh
plastic. Like,
yum. They're like, oh boy,
mm.
my favorite, yum. Soup's on. Yeah, no, I'm not
God,
saying they go out of their way. They're like, oh, finally, some
they're
good
eating
food.
the shipments of like Lego bricks that have fallen off of the tankers. Like, you ever hear about that? Where it's like an entire shipping container of Legos just fell into the ocean, or like the
I think it
Garfield
was
phones.
Garfield phones. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that happened, and they're still washing up like on a beach. That's crazy.
yeah.
A whole shipment of Garfield phones. It just shows you how much like waste goes into like random garbage like that.
That reminds
Um.
me of the stuff that we found beachcombing. Remember that time we found a transmission?
Oh yeah.
It was just a whole transmission from a car. Like,
You know what's crazy? There was also a giant tire that washed up on a beach, but it was like a. Would you were probably have more experience with tires. It was like like a tractor but bigger. Like I couldn't even imagine. It was one of those
did
like
we find
rigged.
this or wait?
Yeah, it was on the beach. It was a huge
Uh
tire that was the size of like it had to be like it was bigger than me standing up for sure. So it was maybe like
oh, yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. I do
huge.
remember
Like
that.
you
Yeah,
could
that was like a
stand in like
construction tire or
yeah,
something.
like 10 people could stand
Yeah.
in the middle of it.
Yeah, that thing was
What would that
huge.
what does that belong to? Like it was
Probably
huge.
construction equipment would be my guess.
Yeah,
Or
and then
because
how
I
does
doubt there's
that
a lot of
wash
tractors
up?
around that area. Well,
It was
you ever
bigger
see
than
what
a
happened?
tractor tire.
Yeah. You ever see, well, first of all, someone could have just thrown it in the river or in the ocean.
Yeah, illegal
But
dumping. Yeah, you're right.
did you ever see what they do when they like when they're finished with like quarries and stuff? And they do this around me. They have these big pits, and it's like they leave all the construction equipment down there because it's like, what are they going to do with it? And they've made enough money off of the minerals that they've mined that they just flood it with all like the stuff still in there. Like, there's like lakes and stuff around me where it's like you can like there's cliff diving areas that people go to, but it's like, hey, don't dive in this one because there's a giant crane and it's still extended down there, and it's like, yeah, this is an 80-foot deep like hole, but the crane is visible from like 10 feet. You could just hit your face on it and die.
Yeah, I really don't like the ocean. That has been a classic Matt Fun Dude staple, especially when I've been playing I was playing the game Subnautica, which I probably should revisit.
Hmm.
And just even freaking out in that game. I don't like the dark. I think it's really bad when it's dark and stuff. So the people who do like the cliff diving slash the like undersea cavern exploration are psychopaths,
Hmm.
and they get stuck in them a lot of times and just they're screwed.
Sure
That's
do.
it's not cool, not fun.
I mean, like the ocean's fine to me because it's like I know that anywhere that you're gonna be swimming is like even like hundreds of feet, right? Like nothing's gonna get you where you're swimming, you know. But
Well, what if
like
you're in the middle of the ocean?
in the
Just
middle of
like
the ocean, I mean, even then, like nothing's like up towards the surface. Everything's on the bottom. Nothing
that's
cares about you up
true.
there.
It's not necessarily that I'm
Anywhere
like
that a
worried
human
about
would be
getting.
without gear is basically safe. As far if you're like swimming recreationally.
Oh yeah, like I don't think I'm gonna get like attacked by a shark on like a shoreline. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty rare that would happen, especially now that the waters are like getting colder and hotter and whatever. I
Yeah.
feel like it's probably even, or it might be more common. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, we need to bring a marine biologist onto the show to ask them.
That was
But
that was almost me in
yeah.
college.
Oh yeah, marine
I
biology or
took I took I
biology, I
took a
guess.
couple biology courses, and then I said I don't like this. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
yeah, man.
My main thing with these like the ocean stuff is like the ocean is a treat to me because I'm always just like, oh look, it's just wide open, and there's like I know there's not snapping turtles immediately below the surface. Like I've been swimming in a bunch of ponds and like, like lakes and like places like that, and like stream, like there's a stream near me, and it's all these old quarry rocks, and they like it flows around them, and it's literally just a thing where you like in the summer you just go and like sit in the quarry rocks, and it's like 3 feet deep. You just sit in the river. I
Yeah, even
this
that I
is
still.
this is like at middle of nowhere type stuff, but like,
Yeah, bodies of water all freak me out, I guess. Just I don't like being able to not see what's below me. Half of the time, it's like if I'm on these beaches, I don't want to step on like a hypodermic needle because some of the beaches are not great.
yeah, that's
Um,
New Jersey.
yeah, half of the other time is like I just don't like not being able to see underneath me, and it just freaks me out. And also, I've probably been like almost drowned several times by the ocean, just getting hit in the face with like a wave. especially when I was younger, and then just like getting knocked around. So
Me
I'm
too,
good.
actually. I almost got dragged out when I was like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm good on the ocean. I don't
Hmm.
really like the beach either. Maybe if I got like way more swole, I think the people who enjoy the beach the most, you really go to the beach unless you're swimming, because swimming is fun for everyone. But or if you're playing like frisbee or like playing volleyball, like playing something. If you're just sitting on the beach, like you're out there, you're patrolling. You're trying to get something happening. You know what I mean? And
No?
yeah, you know what I mean. You're sitting there. Well,
You're trying to get something happening.
people go to the beach. Yeah, you're just trying to form a crew to go rob a
Yeah,
bank.
like
No,
what are you referring to?
I'm referring to people go to the beach, try to like hook up with people or like get like
What a
started like
weird place to do that.
the
What the
beach.
fuck?
No, it's not weird if you're like all right. If you're a very like I would say like you could go to the beach if you start working out. It's a good place to. It's also not even just for like hooking up with people. It's a good place to show off your physique if you're a fitness person. You know what I mean?
I could I guess see that because it's just one of those things where it's like you're just like, oh yeah, I have my shirt off, but everyone has their shirt off. But look
Yeah,
at
you
me,
have an
I worked so
excuse.
hard at having my shirt off, like that kind of thing.
And some people do work. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. And some
No,
people
no,
do
no,
like
no,
work out
no.
at the
It's like
beach.
it's an acceptable time to say, look, I have my shirt off, and look at how
Yeah,
hard I've worked on this.
I would like the beach more. Like I don't. I just don't like the whole a lot of aspects of the beach, like how it's hot and whatever, and sand and it's coarse and rough and gets everywhere. No, yeah, there's a lot of things I don't like about the beach in general. I like the beach at night. I kind of like the night or overcast beach where it's like not that hot, but it's kind of a vibe. Like the ocean still. I like that. I like that energy more than like sweltering heat.
Yeah,
And
and all the crabs running across and stuff, like the ghost
yeah, that
crabs.
stuff's
I don't know if
fun.
you have those wherever, but
I don't think so, but that sounds nice. I don't know, hanging with the crabs at night.
they seriously they come up and it's like it's not like cute or endearing most of the time though. It's like you're walking around and you're just like, yeah, I'm sitting here and the sun's setting and it's about to get dark and I'll wait and I'll see the crabs and you expect to see like one or two of them pop out and like scuttle across. It's like no, like 500 of them just go like and just like fucking like
No, I
like
hate that. No,
starts swarming across everywhere.
never mind. That's not a selling point to me. That
It's
is a
you
I
know
don't
in
like that.
Ocarina of Time when the fucking bone guys come out of the ground and it's the sound they make and it's just yeah, it's literally that. It
Oh my
like
god. Oh, bringing it back to the video games on our video game podcast, Ocarina of Time.
that was going to be
You
my
know
next
what?
question. Is this still a video
Big
game
segue.
podcast?
Yeah, well, the definition literally says sometimes a video game podcast is the new
Okay.
catchphrase. So, but we could talk about the greatest game of all time, according to everyone who's ever written a list about games. Ocarina of Time, a game that is so heralded as being the best game ever that it kind of makes everyone think the game's overrated because it's way too rated. Like, it
I
is a really good game and it's really important, but
I
it's
completely agree and
way too extra.
I don't think we need to contribute to the millions of people saying this on the internet. However, I do have a very obtrusive segue that's going to completely destroy that topic, but this
Oh my
serves
god.
as a launch pad to that.
Okay.
Uh, you know what game I have heard unanimously my entire life, and maybe this isn't even the common sentiment. Maybe I've just heard this by sheer coincidence over and over and over. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but this story. But it's one of those things where it's like everyone growing up on the internet. Every time I've ever seen, oh, the best game ever, Chrono Trigger. I've
Chrono
never met
Trigger?
a human being that's played Chrono Trigger.
I have played Chrono Trigger. I did not beat it.
I've
But
never I've never met a human being that has played it and says that. Rather, I've just seen it on the
um
internet everywhere for years growing up.
I think you're right. I don't think no one I've ever I would have been that friend by the way cuz I did try playing it, but it was back I would probably appreciate it today and it might be something I get to at one point. And I know that it's unique in how and I always get that game confused with Secret of Mana too, which is like
Hmm.
similar in a weird way.
Which
Um
kind of leads to my next point of
yep.
it has Ocarina of Time syndrome, where people are like, "This is the greatest thing ever" because it was the first thing ever.
I also agree with
Chrono Trigger is like, oh, it was like a SNES JRPG that was like passably good, I imagine. I played it. I don't like RPGs, so I can't really judge it. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like people are like, oh look, here's the first thing of its kind because it's 1990 and we don't have anything like this. This is the greatest game ever.
Well, I think people like it a lot because the art style is very nice. The combat is actually somewhat unique from a JRPG. I believe it has like slightly different combat mechanics, and the story is pretty cool. And it is like a time travel adventure. Weird, like there's a lot of weird stuff. I would also say if we're talking about Super Nintendo RPGs that are influential, I played Earthbound. I'm not done with it. I'm very close to beating it. That game, gameplay wise, honestly, is not really fun. It's a JRPG, and I like JRPGs, and I like simplicity sometimes.
Mhm.
It's just like it drags, and the story is cool and all, and that game existed, so that game walked so every other quirky like contemporary set JRPG could exist. Like we wouldn't have Undertale, or we wouldn't have um I'm trying to think like every single inspired game, and also the sequel Mother 3, which I think is a better game. Like it had some more time. That game is actually pretty fun and has an interesting combat system. But yeah, no, Earthbound, it's still good. It's just like there's a lot of lull random things that happen, and it's really weird, hard to describe because it's like I'm used to playing what came later, and what came later refined kind of what Earthbound was trying to do. So going
Yeah.
back to the original, it's like hard to do.
I yeah, I think Earthbound is another one of those games, and like I think isn't there like isn't there something weird about that series where it's like the third one isn't available anywhere or
Yeah,
something?
Mother 3. It's okay, so what happened was there's three games. There was a game called Earthbound, which was on NES, which no well, that was never released in the US until way later. It got localized. It's basically no one really plays it.
Okay,
It's yeah, Earthbound is the first one that anyone really plays.
gotcha.
And then there is a fan translation of Mother 3, which it like has existed for a long time, which is how you can play it in English, and it's completely perfect. Like it's fine. Like
S-
it's very good.
my gripe with the Earthbound franchise is or Mother whatever franchise is that when I was in 8th grade,
Mhm.
somebody pitched Mother 3 to me and told me about it. And they described it as this like fantastical amazing thing that was like, yeah, it's like an RPG but it's like this crazy like boss rush thing where it's like this big like
Okay.
almost like similar to what like a roguelike is today where it's like yeah it's like this big boss rush thing where you like you go through this like infinite like generated like area and everything is just like it's just the combat's really really good and like I don't even remember but I just remember like those were the key selling points that I was like that sounds like a lot of fun and I tried to get it and I messed around with the whole like fan translation or whatever. I couldn't get it to work and I started playing it and I'm like this is not what this is
I
just
think yeah.
incorrect. Like
I'm pretty sure that was a miscommunication because yeah, that is not even close to what
yeah
that game is.
and it's just like I don't know. I don't really like RPGs, and the fact that someone liked that franchise enough to just either lie or completely misconstrue me about what it was to get me to play it because it's such a good game or whatever. And it's like I don't know. There's a couple things like that. That was one of my foundational backstory things about why I hate being sold on things. I
Oh
don't.
yeah, just
It's like when you when we were living together and you were telling me like, "Hey, we should watch JoJo's, but don't look anything up about it. Just watch this." And we started watching it. I'm like, "Wait, you just showed me the trailer," and I'm like, "All right," or the opening from season 1, and I'm like, "This looks pretty cool. I'd watch this." And then like I found out what it was after I had been all the way through like part 2, and I'm like, "Well, I'm in too deep now anyway." So
yeah,
and now
you
I'm
would have
starting part 6, and I love it.
I'm gonna start. Oh yeah, I'm also going to start part 6 soon. Actually, I was planning on maybe doing that even this weekend. But yeah, JoJo. If we're gonna get into JoJo, I have fallen off as a fan, as a huge fan. No, I
As have
wasn't even a
I.
huge. Honestly, I wasn't even a huge fan. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I watched it. Weirdly enough, you liked. All right. By the way, minor spoilers for JoJo. Just basically how the show is constructed. Um, so you liked part one a
I liked
lot.
part one as I watched it, and I said I
Yeah.
like that this is like I didn't realize it was like 1890s and like a historical thing. And then
Yeah.
I started watching it and I was like, "Oh, part 2. Oh, it's 1940s. All right, cool. I like this." And I thought it was going to be like in the 70s and then whatever. And like it was. And part 3 wasn't really about that. It was just happened to take place in the 80s and it was
Yeah.
a long grueling experience.
It's
To me,
very different. Yeah. I
IMO,
also agree with
I
you.
don't
To be
like part
honest.
3, but part 4 onwards is so good. I like it was worth watching all of like I liked part 1 and 2 in the moment. Did not like part 3 while I watched it. In hindsight, part 1 exists. Part 2 is good. I like part
I like
2.
part two. No, part two is good.
In hindsight, do not like part 3. Didn't like it while I was watching it. Don't like it now. Uh it's good to know what happens, but there's a reason that there's lists out there of here's like all the episodes you are possibly allowed to skip and not miss any story.
Oh my god.
The only thing I liked about part 3, really, two things for the most part: Darby the Gambler and and Darby the
And his
Lesser.
brother Darby.
Yep, those are the two best episodes in that. The Darby the Gambler is great. Um,
There's some good stuff in there.
yeah, the
There's
Sun,
some good stuff. The Sun, yeah, I was thinking about that.
the
Which I was
Sun.
that was an episode that I told you, we could just skip this because it
We
is
weren't
a very
skipping any of them.
skippable.
Yeah,
No, that is a very skippable episode, but it has the most English in it and is so funny. Just him, just old Joseph yelling.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I so here's my part takes. It's funny that you liked part one a lot and part two, and then you were disappointed that it wasn't in that set. I think you were disappointed that it wasn't in that setting anymore, which is hilarious because everyone hates part one. Well, not they don't hate it. They're like, ah, part one, whatever.
I
Like
think
it's
part 1 in that setting or something in that setting done now the way part 4, 5, and 6 are done, because those are incredible. I love part 4, 5, and 6, but
yeah.
an 1890s like a part that would be taking place in that time and written like the new ones would be so good. I
Have
would
you
be all over that.
have you seen Castlevania the Netflix series at all?
No, but I'm not huge about Castlevania like as a franchise. I just don't have
Well,
any attachment
I
to
would
it.
say check it out. It doesn't really matter at all that it's Castlevania property. Like there's nothing about it that is like there's like the main character's name is like the main character guy and
Hmm.
it's like there's Dracula. So it really I would honestly it is actually pretty good. You should check it out. Um
The Okay, so I didn't know if it was one of those things you had to like know the lore or
no,
like
you
have
don't at
played all
all.
those games,
It
but
doesn't really follow it at all. So
okay. Uh, the only Castlevania game I ever played was the one that came out for the 360, the
oh god.
Lords of Shadow.
Oh my have you not played any of the Metroidvanias or anything?
No, I don't like those kinds of
Oh,
games, honestly.
those are my
Yeah, they're
favorite
classics,
games.
and yeah, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, like this is video gaming. This is what started it." And it's just like, yeah, but like, I don't live in that time. I can play whatever I want. I can play a game.
Uh,
I can play Tekken for fucking like 80 hours.
it's so funny. It's just the people I have on the pod. It's like you're the fighting games like expertise guy. I have very like esporty people to talk to. Like you're the Tekken guy. My other co-host is like the Dota MOBA like battle royale guy. Like in
Hmm.
terms of like that, I'm very like I just play a lot of single player like that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
good to get a different perspective every now and then. I don't know how we got back onto video games. This is a JoJo podcast.
This is a JoJo podcast now. Um,
We
my closing thought on JoJo's anyway, because I spent a billion years on it, because I know people don't like it, but some people don't like it. But well, it's just great because loved part 4, loved part 5, and even in like 2017 when like part 6 was out as a manga, and I was like, do I want to read part 6? Like, do I want to like start reading it? Or when part 5 wasn't even out, and I was like, do I want to start reading this? And I had to think about it, and I'm like, the more I saw about part 6 and Jolene and all that stuff, I'm just like, I don't think I'm gonna like part 6. I'm just not. I'm just gonna wait on it. I don't care. I'm not. I don't think I'm gonna like it. And I told myself for years, I'm not gonna like it. I don't care. And then last week I started watching it. I got one episode in, and I'm like, it's first episode. It's always first episode. It's JoJo's first episode, whatever. And it's funny that it opens with her in the prison, and it kind of was that parallel to part 3 with Jotaro in the prison.
Jotaro, yeah.
But and I was just like, all right, let me get another episode. And I'm watching the second episode. I'm like, God, I love this. This sunk its hooks into me. Like, that's what happens every time. I'm like, I'm not gonna like this part. I thought that with part 5 too. That's my favorite one. But
You see, I think the thing about JoJo, my closing thoughts on JoJo, is that it's an anime slash manga that it's something that I may not be as like gung ho about, but whenever a new part comes out, I will eventually watch it and
oh
probably
yeah,
enjoy it, just because it's so it it gets tropey sometimes, but it can be so different and kind of interesting. And it's not a huge commitment. Each like of the anime, like each season, usually it's like maybe like 24 episodes, and then you're good. Like it's not a huge
not
time
part
sink.
3, but everything else
Okay,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Part three is like a double season. Like they
part
literally
3
did
is
like
2
two.
seasons. It's
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It's like yeah. Um,
Um,
have you seen any? I was gonna just get into like Korean shows that have been taking over the world. Apparently, um,
oh man,
it's
uh,
yeah.
I have not seen a whole lot of them. Uh, my now fiance is watching, which we got engaged, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh, I did not know that. That's a
Yeah.
podcast first.
All
Congratulations.
right. Well, yeah. It's just kind of recent, but anyway, yeah, my fiance watches some of that stuff, and he like, I don't watch. Seriously, when it comes to me watching stuff, I just watch like Star Trek and some anime now, and like, I don't know, I finishing Seinfeld.
Oh, there you go.
But like, as far as like new stuff that comes out, I'm not on it, unfortunately.
Except we do watch Always Sunny when it for some reason when new seasons come
That's
out.
that's a tradition that came up from us living together, though, where it was just like,
Yeah.
we've both seen this show like 5 times. Let's just watch the new season when it comes out.
I
Um,
have expectations for the new season.
do
Like
you?
you know why? Because they've been doing that podcast, the
Uh,
Always Sunny podcast, and they've been watching all the old episodes, and they've been talking about how some people don't like the newer, like they're aware that people don't like some of the new stuff,
mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping by watching these old episodes, maybe they'll get, they'll see what people liked about the show and maybe try to translate that into something new. But I don't know. I'm always gonna like. I honestly didn't think the latest season, like the Ireland season, was that bad. I thought it was actually
No,
pretty
yeah,
decent.
all right. I watched it again recently.
Hmm.
I did not like the episodes that were not in Ireland. I
Oh yeah, I forgot those existed.
Yeah, the Ireland stuff was good, and I seriously, they were doing like a 5 episode arc of that, and I thought that was going to be the end. That would have been such a good ending, because it's like Charlie wants to stay in Ireland and stay with Cole Meany, whatever his
Daddy
name in that.
Kelly, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he wants to
Patty
stay
Kelly, I
there.
think, or something. I don't know.
Shelley Kelly. She was
Shelly Kelly.
Shelley
Yeah,
Kelly.
Shelly Kelly. How could we forget? It's such a hilarious comedy name.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie wants to stay in Ireland with Shelley, and Mac wants to be a preacher or whatever, and Dennis wants to live in a castle and gets COVID, and it's like all these like things that could just be their ending resolution. Like if Dennis had just died, that they could have just ended it there, and I'm sure they can't because of like syndication, but like that would have been such a good ending, just to be like, these people do not deserve a good ending, like these
Hmm.
characters, but like, I don't know. I was like, I'd be happy if there was no more after this.
So Rob McElhenney on the podcast talks about how they will never stop making or at least he'll never stop making the show as long as it's greenlit to be made.
Oh my god.
So yeah, and some of the cast members were like we want to move on or whatever. But
We want to do
obviously,
AP
yeah,
Bio.
AP Bio, they rag on him, yeah, in the podcast. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about other more successful, better podcasts. But yeah, it's hard to be not successful as a podcast when you're doing like
When you base it
have you
off of a
seen
very successful show like that's
yeah,
on FX. Yeah.
that's been a rise. Well, that's been a rise of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of them actually. I do think it's pretty interesting. The cast members talk about a show podcast. The Office has one. Like a bunch of them have uh these. I do think it's interesting to hear behind the scenes like on what happened on each episode. But yeah, that is a very easy podcast type to monetize. It's like here's the actor from this here's the actor from this thing. And Polkabird, this is some insider baseball. Here's my insider podcast. Ryan tried to stealthily message me to ask about the time on the podcast.
My
We're about
timer broke at the top. That's
we're
why.
at 40 minutes right now.
Okay.
We usually go to an hour if that's okay.
I just wasn't
Um
sure where we were. No,
oh,
I
we're good. We're
figured. I
good.
just wasn't sure where we were at.
Yeah.
It says
Um
invalid date, invalid date,
oh
invalid
my
date on
god.
mine.
That's great. Yeah, there's some weird things that happen with this software. But yeah, no, they're gonna keep making it. I think the new season might actually be okay-ish, but whatever. Um, yeah, I guess you know what. I would actually say we get into questions. If you have any questions, email us at hyeppodcast@gmail.com. This is the hyeppodcast@gmail.com. But I don't have any questions this week, and also I tried to generate questions with the Bing Chat AI thing, but that wasn't working today for some reason.
Ask it what the cure to poison ivy is, and if it doesn't say some very serious accusations about like, yep, no cure, just die.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. All right, this is gonna be the new segment, I guess, for right now. We're gonna ask Chat GPT / Bing Chat, the cure for what is the cure? What is the cure for poison ivy? So, have you used any of the Chat GPT stuff or any of those
Yes, and I've been
things?
thoroughly unimpressed every single time.
Have you used the Bing one, the Bing
Yep.
Chat?
Yeah, we were
Oh,
using it
okay.
together.
Oh yeah, I actually I have found it to be useful for certain things. All right, here's the Bing. Here's poison ivy doesn't have a cure, but even left untreated, it will eventually clear out within 2 to 3 weeks. But here's some remedies that may help you. Use some cortisone cream
Yeah,
or
it
ointment,
doesn't
cortisone
really
10.
help.
What about calamine lotion or creams
Nope.
containing menthol?
The only thing that I have used that has helped is like numbing gels.
Hmm.
Yeah, poison ivy sucks.
Have you tried to take out all of your teeth
Yeah,
and then apply the numbing gel?
I went to the no, but I get what you're saying, and there's a lot of people that won't get that joke, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But speaking of teeth, I went to
Oh
the
my god.
dentist recently,
Yep.
and I had I this is just the most random thing ever. But you know they like try to talk to you like, oh, what do you do for work, that kind of thing. The
Mhm.
hygienist, like I was like, yeah, like I'm talking about like, oh, I do this, this, and this, and I have like a good job, and I like my job, and they pay me enough that I can live comfortably, and I like just couldn't be happier about my situation. And she's like, you dropped out of college? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, you're gonna go back, right? I'm like, no. Why would I do that? Like I have very little college debt. I have a great job that I love. I can afford to live. Like why would I go back to college? They don't need me to at my work. She's like, well, your education should come first. You know that, right? I'm like, uh-huh, yeah, all right. Get your hands out of my mouth. Like
Yeah.
I don't know,
Um.
it was just funny where she straight up like she was using the water scaler and she straight up just she was it was it was like zzz, and she just stopped and she looked at me and was like, "You're going back to college, right?"
Is this her side hustle? Does she like work for the Department of like Education?
I guess I don't know. She's like she's on the like whatever it is the FAFSA board and they want everybody to take on more college debt.
This part of Oklahoma loans or whatever.
Oh my
um,
god.
I could see what she means, kind of in a way, but here's the
But
like.
how do you tell someone who has nothing but good things to say about their situation and has no desire to go back to college? How do you say like, "Well, you're going back to college. You know that, right? You got to do it. There's no way you're not going to do it." Like,
If it was free though, would you do it? Just to
probably
like
not.
no.
Nah,
I
I'm
yeah.
good. I hated the schoolwork and doing essays in college and stuff.
I mean,
I
that's fair.
I put my mental energy into so many more constructive things these days that are actually like I enjoy doing. That I like. I stimulate my own brain significantly more than it was in college. You know what I'm making right now?
I'm
I'm taking a silicone mold upstairs of my hands in different poses and positions.
uh-huh.
I'm doing one in a handshake position, one in
Yep.
I'm doing the Gotham hand, you know, the finger
The Gotham
circle.
hand, yes, the okay.
I'm doing a thumbs up. I'm doing a couple of other different poses and stuff, and then I'm making a plaster cast of those,
Yep.
using that to make a sand mold, melting down aluminum cans, making aluminum hands of like casts of my hand. I had a doorknob that I wanted to replace, and I want to I want to make a handshake and drill out the inside and put it on the doorknob, and you got to shake the hand
See,
to
I
open
think
it.
that's cool. I like that as a great concept. I wouldn't tell people that's what you're doing over college. People are like, see, I don't need college to make metal hands.
I got oh my god, I want so badly to make these like hand thumbs ups and just like have it around with me and be like, hey, good, like
You could
nice.
also sell some hand after dark, some spicy hand, like the middle finger. Like that would be pretty
I'll
cool.
do the
That
like the hand, the finger, and the
the
circle, and
the finger in the
they
circle.
interchange
Yeah,
with each other like
some yeah.
fingers after dark.
Finally, hands for men.
Hands for men.
Have we talked about this on the podcast? The concept of the blank for men
I
products and how funny it is.
I feel like we have to have because of the sheer amount that we mention it outside of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Queen story. How we talked about that in depth.
Yeah, the
The Queen story.
the miraculous queen story about
Oh yeah.
I can't even go on with this because I don't even remember what I was gonna say, and I think it's
Oh,
just straight up lost time.
the bit ending here. The Queen story bit. The fact that we'll never actually hear the Queen story. The thing that no one's following, by the way. Like it's only for us. Like to think
Yeah,
that's funny.
that's why it's ending. Also because it's funny to me to close it out for myself because I'm left on a cliffhanger too. I'm with this every in this hypothetical audience that's following it because I don't know what my story was either.
Let me explain this real quick. So on one of the podcasts that Ryan was on, we mentioned a Queen story at the beginning that Ryan had, and then he got cut off or something. So we never actually explained what the Queen story was, and we were going to make it a running bit to always bring it up every time he was on, but never say it. But we both forgot what the story even was, and also no one was following that. So
If
it
if
was
if it
it's
was more
just deranged.
established and if it had been if anyone knew what we were talking about, I would have probably indulged that.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye out for some indulgence later. But I think I'm gonna ask you. I got the bot to generate some questions. Let me ask you some video game questions on this video game podcast.
Okay.
Uh, is there a game that is considered really bad that you secretly really like? I think that's a pretty decent question. Like maybe from your
That
childhood,
is
you
a pretty
played some
decent
game that was like
question.
trash game that you
I
really liked.
See, I have one that I is like probably my favorite PS1 game like
Hmm.
ever made, but the thing is that I can't be an impartial judge to it and I've never gotten anyone to play it to tell me if it is actually a really good hidden gem or if it's just something I just liked. I've played through it multiple times as an adult and I feel like it holds up because it's really good and I really like it. But it's that submarine game, that Treasures of the Deep.
Treasures of the Deep.
I love that game, dude. That game is so fun. I think it's a really good game. It's an action first person like submarine like survival shooter basically. And you're like you get all these different subs and weapons and stuff and like it uses the shoulder buttons in a really interesting way. Like you press because this is back when the PS1 had just 4 shoulder buttons instead of like 2 triggers, and it probably wouldn't work on modern controllers. Uh, you press the top 2 to go forward, the back 2, the bottom 2 to go back, like the left 2 and the right 2 to strafe both sides, and like uh, or no, it was the top 2 to go up, bottom 2 to go down, and then like the right one to go forward, left to go like just a really interesting way of doing it. Um, I don't know. I thought that game was really good. And what's funny, I can segue here, but I found out that the guy who composed that is apparently like famously terrible. Like the guy pretends to have like 7 Guinness World Records, and he claims to be the first American to ever work on Sonic, and like
Oh, I know. Wait, yeah, I watched a whole
that
video
guy.
about this. Who is this
Yes,
guy?
Tommy
I forget.
Tallarico is his name.
Tommy Tallarico.
He
Yeah.
composed the soundtrack for this game, and I love the soundtrack for this game.
Did he
But
compose it, or did someone else compose it and he
no,
took
he
credit for
he
it?
did, because this is a really early thing he did.
Yeah.
This is before he was like talking about that kind of stuff
I forgot. We must have watched the same like really long
differently.
video
I don't think we ever
about
talked
this.
about it, but we watched the same
No.
video. I know we did.
Yeah.
If
About
you're I know if you know what I'm talking about, then you
Yep.
must have seen this video.
And all of like half of his records. Well, first of all, you pay for Guinness World Records.
Yes, and
Let's ruin
that's
Guinness
a
World Records
really
for
funny
everyone.
thing too.
Yeah, you pay for Guinness World Records. His Guinness World Records aren't even accurate, and some of them are duplicates.
Yes, it's really funny too because like everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a Guinness World Record. It's like Guinness is a beer company. Yes, it's that Guinness, and that's
Is
who's
it?
keeping.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yes, yeah. It is literally a novelty
Oh,
by the Guinness Brewing Company.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's it's just really funny.
Okay,
They keep it
the
separate probably for a reason because they want to seem like it has credibility. But
yeah, the Guinness Book of World Record book was always like the most like sought after book at the book fair at your
it was
school. I don't know,
the school
a school
library
book
was for
fair
me. No one could
or
afford it at
library.
the
Yeah,
book fair.
I couldn't also afford it at the book fair, but
Yeah, no.
uh, the Where's Waldo books at the library also slapped.
Mm.
When you got a new Waldo book in, it was crazy. Like the red cover Waldo book
We never
with
got
the
the new
yellow
ones
cover.
in. We only ever had the purple one, like the Halloween one.
Purple. I never had purple one. I
Yeah.
only had red, blue, and maybe yellow.
Yeah, we only had the Halloween one and the spine. I checked it out like 6 times in elementary
Oh
school.
yeah,
I remember this, but the front of the spine was almost completely deteriorated, and if you pulled too hard on it, the cover would probably have come off.
yeah. The I Spy books too were also fire. Uh,
I I know that you have a thing for I Spy like that, like fond memories of it.
oh yeah.
Uh, I I Spy is just not. I mean, like we played through the Spooky Mansion on your Twitch, and I remember
We
that, and that
did at
was
one point.
it
That's
was it
lost
was.
media at this point.
Is it? Oh
I
yeah,
think
you're right.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a long time ago. But um, it's funny. I know that book. I know the I Spy Spooky Mansion book because a friend of mine had it, but they never had that in my school library. So I just you know I wasn't in on the checking out I Spy books from the library meta.
Did you ever have a day at your school where like they had a gym, right? So did
Yeah.
they ever have like a day where they brought in like jungle gym equipment?
No,
Like
what?
very okay, at my one of my school, right? They would have one day like a year, like it was a really special thing. I don't think it was for us. I think it was for like some after school program. But they would bring in like this indoor jungle gym equipment that you could like climb on and do all that stuff. It had like swings and it had all this like cool stuff, like and slides and stuff.
That's so sick. I wish
So
that
sick.
yeah.
But let me ruin it real quick because we weren't allowed to. So when we were in the gym class, we were allowed to use it kind of, but we were only allowed to use like one thing on it basically. Like you had to like sign up for like one of the things, and you also like weren't. So you were only allowed to do the unfun things. So if you
Mm,
imagine like a really fun jungle gym with swings and slides, you were only allowed to like do pull ups on a monkey bar or something. Like it was just like made it boring, and you just weren't allowed to use it. So it would just taunt you. It's like this really fun, awesome thing that you just couldn't use.
you know what it probably like my cynical brain and the way the world works is
Uh,
analyzing this, and I'm just like, I wonder if that was like a private like playground equipment company was just like we're conducting a focus group to see which playground equipment children would want to play at. And like a guy with a
oh, it could
clipboard
have
comes
been.
in and like a child like brings in like a group of 5 children like, well, out of this, what is on a scale of 1 to 10? What are your top 5 items that you would run towards and play on this? Like asking kids these
I
like
wonder.
statistical questions.
I think it also was maybe a logistical thing, like a liability, because this was I believe this was like really young, maybe like middle school, like not middle school, like first grade, second grade,
Uh
whatever. Is that middle school? I don't even remember anymore.
huh. First grade
Is
is
that middle
first
school?
grade. Did you just ask me if first grade is middle school?
I don't. Oh, elementary school. I forgot elementary school existed as a concept. I was like middle school, high school.
Okay.
I don't know. I've been so far away from that life that
I
I don't remember.
haven't had to think about getting on the bus in a long time.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about my moving on ceremony into
your
like
your your
into
fifth
middle
grade
school.
matriculation.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I haven't thought about. Yeah, I actually never got to ride a bus as a kid because I lived too close to all the school systems. They wouldn't let me onto the bus circuit or whatever.
You're oh my god. So
Yeah,
wait, you never rode the bus?
I never rode the bus. I wanted to.
Wow. Oh my god. You
I
all right.
I all my schools were in walking distance, so they were like, "You can just figure it out, chief."
That's actually kind of crazy because
Yep,
the bus has some of the
I
wildest
know.
stories of any school stories I've like. Oh my god, I have bus stories for hours. There
See,
was
I wanted to as a kid, and what's funny is
the
like
bus
I had the
sucked as a
luxury
kid.
of. I know
It's just the
it did
funny
suck.
stories, but yeah,
It did suck in terms of it's nicer to get dropped off or like walk there because you're close. But at the same time, the camaraderie and the funny stories of the bus, like I didn't have as close of a friendship with people as I could
yeah,
have if I took the bus.
I get it. I get it. Uh, or the classic of, hey, can I get off at this kid's stop today, and getting a note from your parents, like,
Yeah.
um, see, my bus was not very fun. So first of all, I had a mile walk from my house to the bus stop. So
Both ways uphill,
well, actually, yes, because it was like a big V. So
of
like
course.
I lived at like the top of the one side of the hill. You would go down, and the center point was at the bottom, and you had to walk back up to the bus stop. It was literally both uphill and downhill both ways. Uh, but I used to walk a mile every day in the morning and then in the afternoon. And sometimes when I was really late, it would be like, oh God, like, I'm in ninth grade and I'm like, not waking up on time. And I now have to sprint a mile to the bus stop. The bus is coming in like 10 minutes. I got to go, like kind of thing. Um, but my bus was, my bus picked up a lot of the like, see, like my bus system picked up a lot of long drive. I had like a 45-minute bus ride in the morning. Um, and there was like the kind of stuff that would happen, like kids would like piss in bottles and like roll them under the seat and stuff. like when I was in high school on the high school bus, the bus driver, I swear to God, there was a multiple times a bottle of vodka, an
Oh
empty
my
bottle of vodka on the
god.
bus, and the bus driver did not care. The bus driver used to let the kids smoke weed on the back of the bus, in the back like
Okay.
two seats. Yeah, it for
Oh.
high school it was pretty bad.
See, the bus is stupid, right? But
Yeah,
that sounds like I don't know. I feel like it gives you growth as a person, and you have experiences
it gave me
that
that
were
exact like mindset that you need when you're walking in a city to not look at anyone.
yeah, or
It
like
gave me
riding a
that.
bus in the city. Like
Yes, yep. It gave me
yeah,
that exactly. Put your headphones in, look forward, don't talk to anybody.
yep,
Like
yeah.
on my bus, if you like made a scene or whatever, like kids would be like,
Made a
you know,
scene.
like yeah, like the if you were weird or whatever, people would like yell at you from the back of the bus and like like comedy jeer you, just like uh, yeah,
You know
just
what? I did get a taste of it every time we would go on like a school trip or something, or like any kind of event where we had to be driven somewhere. I did get a little taste of that bus, you
oh
know,
yeah.
and that
That
was
was
cool.
different though.
It was different.
That was good because it was like, oh, my friends from all these different buses are on my bus now, and we can all sit together and have like a big hangout session, and like
Yeah.
for the 45 minutes. Oh my god, that during one of those trips, I brought a Rubik's cube with me in like second grade, and I was trying to do it because I didn't know how to solve a Rubik's cube. I was trying to figure it out, and kid two seats back who I like was acquaintances with was like, "Oh, dude, you have a Rubik's cube? I love solving Rubik's cubes." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, can I like play with it for like the bus ride?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I gave it to him, and I checked on him, and like 20 minutes later, like, "How's a Rubik's cube coming?" And half the stickers were on his fingers, and he was putting them
Oh my
back on.
god.
He
What
was
a
taking the stickers off.
absolute
Oh
loser.
god, I that Rubik's cube was ruined from then on.
Oh yeah, you can ruin it too because like if you put the stickers on it in a not good way, like
Yep.
it won't be
Well, half of
solvable.
them he messed them up. Like some of them were ripped, and like some
Oh
of
my
them were like
god.
crinkled, and like the corners were all jacked up.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Um yeah, no. I bus field trips hit so different and Like I don't think there's anything in adult life that is like that now. But
There
when you
is.
got to go on a what is it?
It's when your work pays for you to go to like a different state or country for a week or whatever.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That kind of hits too.
I
Or
haven't done it
even
yet, but I might soon. I might be going to
honestly,
Sweden.
even on a small scale, when your work's like, "Hey, can you go pick this up at the store?" Like I love that too.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I love that.
I'm like I'm not getting reimbursed for gas probably, which is not good. But
But
I'm like,
I get to drive around and like just drop some stuff off. Yeah.
or like when sometimes I have to go pick up supplies at like a craft store. So I go to like the mall basically, and I'm like, oh, I'm at work, but I'm like at the mall. Like it
Yeah.
feels
Yep.
cool. I'm like, yeah. I'm like I'm
Yeah.
out. I mean, I'm literally just buying one thing and leaving, but it feels cool to be
But you're
like,
like, I'm getting paid to walk around the mall right now. Oh
yeah.
my
It's like
god.
it's
Yeah.
cool. I'm like on a mission.
Yep.
Something
I
about
love
it.
that.
It's
For
nice.
me,
Yeah.
that's going to Home Depot sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But
It's cool. I like. There's a vibe. It's like I'm. It makes the day go by faster too. It's just good.
the thing I think I miss, the only real thing I miss about school, is just having people there that also felt the same way I did about it, and that we could talk to about it. And we shared these mutual experiences that we didn't care about or didn't like, and it would be
Hmm.
like, hey, this was terrible, right? And just having that little bit of camaraderie. Like at work, I only have two coworkers, and one of them's cool but doesn't really care about work the way that I do, so I don't really can't really like talk to him about it. And the other one is not really that cool. So it's like I would love to talk about work with you, but like because I enjoy what I do, but like
Yeah, my problem is I'm like the youngest person too, so like no one. I think there's like an
same.
age group thing too. Everyone's like talking about their kids, and
Yeah.
I just can't relate to anything they're talking about.
One of my coworkers is like a landlord and has like three rental properties, and I'm like, you do not need to be working here. You're like in your 60s. Why are you still here?
People like to do stuff. People like to keep
People
busy.
like money. People like to
Money
be
too, but
greedy and take positions from people that would benefit from them more.
I know. But
For
some people like to just hold on to things and like keep busy and doing whatever.
It's the
But
one place that life makes sense.
yeah, I think that's enough for the pod today. We're at the time. We'll call it a day. This was a good impromptu pod.
Yeah.
I'll probably upload it relatively soon. Even though we already had a podcast this week, this will just be a bonus because I was late on the last couple pods.
There's also about maybe a sixth of it is like gaming in any
It
capacity.
does.
So
It does not matter. We don't be barely like this is a podcast that is now mostly about regrouping and talking with people and not really. It's about gaming loosely, but it's just
yeah.
topics. Because I found out that making a podcast based on a ton of research and playing a game and like completing things,
Hey, it's
yeah,
work.
it's not only is it work, it's not sustainable for a weekly format. It is a like that would be like a monthly or like bi-monthly podcast, which is like what's the point of that,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
maybe in the future, but like it's way I think it's nicer to be able to record a lot more of these like more casual podcasts that are I'm actually want to do, you know what I mean? Like I'll
Right.
actually feel
Like this is fun,
inspired to
just
do.
like hanging out and stuff. But
Yeah. But I've been Matt, aka Matt Fun Dude. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter for now. um,
I'm
do you want
Ryan.
to plug anything?
No, I have I actually I don't use Discord anymore. I don't use Twitter anymore. I'm here.
Oh, find
That's
Ryan
it.
on the bus.
Find me on the
If you
bus.
don't talk. It just eyes forward. If you see
Eyes
Ryan on the
forward.
bus,
Put your
don't talk.
headphones in.
Eyes forward. All right, that's a podcast. Goodbye.